Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today by checking in on a feeling that I think a lot of us are wrestling with right now.
Mhm.
It's a metaphor from the main source we're looking at today, and honestly, it's just been stuck in my head all morning.
It's a very sticky metaphor.
It really is. The author describes modern life, and specifically that vague, heavy boredom, as chewing on a piece of gum that has lost absolutely all of its flavor.
Oh, wow.
You're just working your jaw out of pure inertia. There's no sweetness, no mint, no texture change, just chewing.
That is a painfully visceral image. And
Yeah.
I think it just hits the nail on the head for the kind of learner we often talk to on this show.
Right.
You know the drill, right? You wake up to an alarm you hate, you squeeze onto a crowded train or you're stuck in traffic, you stare at a screen for 8, 9 hours, you go home,
And then you do it all again.
and you do it all again. It's this cycle of like high activity, but shockingly low sensation.
Exactly. It's motion without any real movement. And the cruel irony, according to our source, is that the tool we all use to escape that boredom, our phones, social media,
Right.
it's actually making that flavorless gum problem so much worse.
This is what he calls the saturation argument. When you're bored and you open up Instagram, what do you see? You're just bombarded with these high-definition, super high-saturation highlights of other people's lives.
Perfect travel, massive career wins, food that looks like art.
Exactly, the highlight reel versus your behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And the source makes a really profound point here. Constantly staring at that high-saturation content actually lowers the color saturation of your own reality.
It creates a contrast effect.
A huge one.
Yes.
Your actual life starts to look gray and numb and sort of low resolution because you've burned out your retinas on this digital fantasy.
That is deeply depressing. So if the problem is that our senses have been numbed and our reality feels like a low-res black and white movie, what's the cure? Do you just spit out the gum?
Well, you could, but our source today suggests you don't need to spit it out. You need to shock your system into tasting again.
And the method for that shock is wild.
It is pretty wild.
We are looking at an article by a writer named Ask from July 2025, and the title of the piece is, "If You're Vaguely Bored, Why Not Try Eating a Cockroach?"
And we need to be really clear right off the bat, this is not just some clickbait food review.
No.
We are not doing a Fear Factor episode here for, the gross out laughs.
Mm.
This is a philosophical treatise disguised as a dinner menu.
A treatise with cockroaches.
Precisely. The whole premise is that to cure that gray boredom, you don't need a relaxing vacation. You need shock therapy. You need to forcibly deconstruct your personal values.
Your definitions of good and bad, clean and dirty.
Exactly. All to increase the resolution of your daily life.
Resolution. That's
Wow.
the key word. So we're talking about achieving high definition, living through some highly questionable dining choices.
That's one way to put it.
The setting for this experiment is a restaurant in Takadanobaba, Tokyo, called Rice and Circus, or Come to Circus.
It's a fascinating spot. The author describes it as a circus tent of extraterritoriality.
I love that phrase, extraterritoriality.
Right. I mean, in international law, that's a place where local laws don't apply, like an embassy.
So the laws of common sense don't apply here.
Exactly. The author is saying this restaurant is a place where common sense and civilized society basically check their coats at the door.
Okay, so let's walk in with the author. The atmosphere is crucial. You can't have this kind of breakthrough at some sterile chain restaurant. He describes the vibe immediately. It's down an alleyway, you open the door, and the air just changes. It's dim, there are handwritten menus plastered all over the walls like spells or something, and then the smell.
The olfactory assault.
He calls it a mix of exotic spices and beast fat.
Beast fat, yeah.
It's the smell of something primal.
And that sensory detail is the first step in the therapy. Your brain is a prediction machine. It expects a restaurant to smell like garlic or onions.
You're right, normal things.
When it smells beast fat in a dark room, your brain switches from autopilot to high alert. You are already out of your comfort zone before you've even sat down.
And then you get the menu. The author calls it a letter of challenge. And honestly, looking at the source, I think I would have folded immediately. He glances past what he calls the normal weird items.
Normal weird items, yeah.
Like crocodile hands, camel steak, piranha.
Which tells you everything you need to know about the baseline here.
Right.
In the circus, a flesh-eating fish is just an appetizer. It's mundane.
Imagine looking at a piranha and thinking, too boring. But he didn't go there for boring. He went there to battle his boredom. So he placed an order that escalates in a way that is, it's terrifying.
Okay, let's hear the lineup.
First course, sea turtle sashimi. Second, horse testicles.
Okay.
Third, stink bug steak. Fourth, cockroach steak. And the final boss, flying squirrel poop steak.
It's a complete nightmare lineup.
It's a list of things you run away from, not things you put in your mouth.
Yeah.
But what I love is how he frames it. It's not about being a daredevil. It's this battle in his brain.
Right.
The logical brain is screaming, why, and is it safe? But this deep curiosity of what does it actually taste like? It just overpowers everything else.
That internal conflict is the engine of this whole experience.
Yeah.
If you look at that list, it's a systematic dismantling of cultural taboos.
How so?
Well, you have the taboo of the sacred with the turtle, the taboo of the reproductive with the horse testicles, the taboo of the pest with the cockroach, and the ultimate taboo waste with the squirrel poop. It's like a perfectly curated course of psychological triggers.
Okay, well, let's get into the solids first. This whole section is about the disconnect between your brain and your tongue. They start with the horse testicles, or kintama. Now, if that landed on your table, what are you expecting it to look like?
I mean, you expect something grotesque, veiny, strange. But visually, it totally disarms you. The author says it was beautiful, pale pink, shiny, glistening.
Like a high-end cut of meat.
Exactly. If you didn't know what it was, you might think it was high-end veal or fatty tuna.
But you do know what it is, and that's the whole problem. The texture is described as crunchy or quinu, this Japanese word for chewy and elastic. But here's the kicker. It's surprisingly bland.
And that's the first lesson in separation. The taste itself was light, mostly coming from the sesame oil and salt. But the author couldn't honestly say it was delicious.
Why not? If it tastes like sesame and salt, isn't that good?
Because his brain just kept screaming, this is a testicle.
Right.
It's a cognitive short circuit. The sensory data from his tongue says food, but the conceptual data from his brain says organ.
So you realize that disgust isn't always about flavor, it's about knowledge. You're disgusted by the idea.
Precisely.
Then they move on to the sea turtle sashimi. This one hit differently. It wasn't about the gross out factor, it was about morality.
Right. The author describes this feeling of back-turned guilt. In many cultures, the sea turtle is a sacred creature, or at least a highly protected one.
Right.
Eating it feels like a violation.
But visually, it's this breathtaking, deep red meat. And the taste, he said it's like tuna high-quality horse sashimi, but with this unique scent. And here's where it gets really interesting. He admits it is genuinely delicious.
And he makes a fascinating observation here.
Yeah.
It might be delicious because of the guilt.
The spice of guilt.
Exactly. The author suggests that the feeling of doing something wrong, that transgression, actually enhances the flavor. It makes the experience more intense, more memorable. It's a very honest admission about human nature. We're drawn to the forbidden.
Okay, so they've tackled the solids, they've eaten the organ and the sacred animal. Now we move to the liquids. And this is where I would have run out of the restaurant. We have to talk about the cockroach steak.
This is the headline act. This is the moment a lot of people might tune out, but stay with us because the psychology here is just so potent.
The description is haunting. It's a glass of amber liquid, and sinking at the bottom is a large, black, shiny titchy, just sitting there with what the author calls overwhelming presence.
It's amazing how a single insect can dominate a room or, glass. The psychological barrier is immense. He has to do some serious self-talk, telling himself it's just alcohol, it's just dissolved components, it's just protein.
So he drinks the liquid first.
Right.
And the surprise, it's easy to drink.
Which is so often the case with these fears, isn't it?
Yeah.
The anticipation is the monster. The reality is just liquid. He knows the unique bitterness, but it doesn't linger.
But he doesn't stop there. He eats the bug. He eats the cockroach right out of the glass.
And this is the turning point of the entire night.
The texture is described as chewing strong fibers, like the tough shrimp shell. But the flavor isn't the point. It's the psychological shift that matters. After eating humanity's most feared pest, he describes a feeling of omnipotence.
An all-powerful sensation.
Why does eating a bug make you feel like a god?
Because fear controls us. We spend so much energy avoiding things, dirt, pests, the other. When you conquer a primal fear, something hardwired into your evolution like revulsion toward roaches, you feel a surge of power.
You've overridden your own programming.
Yes. You look at your DNA that screamed danger, and you said no. That's a massive dopamine hit.
It's like skydiving for your taste buds. You survived.
Precisely. You proved to yourself that the thing you feared couldn't actually hurt you.
From the king of pests to the king of stenches. Next up is stink bug's sake. Now, I grew up thinking stink bugs were the worst smell on Earth. That blue-green smell, as he calls it.
So the expectation here is trauma. You expect to drink a foul stench. You expect to gag.
But the experience subverts expectations completely. It wasn't stinky at all. The author says it was surprisingly sweet and floral, like a bouquet of flowers. How is that even possible? It's a stink bug.
There's actually a fascinating scientific basis for this. The chemical compounds in a stink bug's defense spray are primarily aldehydes.
Aldehyde.
Yes. In high concentrations, like when you crush one, they smell foul. It's an overpowering signal. But when those same aldehydes are diluted, like in a large volume of alcohol, they present completely differently to our noses. They smell like cilantro or floral notes.
So the difference between stench and perfume is just the dose.
Exactly. It's a chemistry lesson. But more importantly, the author notes that his fear was based on an image, a memory of a smell, not the present reality.
He was scared of the idea of the stink bug.
And once that idea is shattered, you realize how much of your life is governed by these phantom fears that have no basis in what's actually in front of you.
Okay, we have arrived at the final boss, the item that makes cockroach sake look like a light beer, flying squirrel poop sake.
Listed on the menu as no guso.
This is the ultimate taboo, the consumption of waste. This goes against every hygiene instinct we have.
It goes against millions of years of evolution telling us poop equals sickness.
The menu tries to justify it. It says because the squirrels in this region eat herbs and nuts, their droppings are aromatic and used as traditional medicine. Which, okay, sure, but his civilized mind is just fully rejecting the concept.
As it should be. But look at the sensory breakdown again. This is where the deconstruction is complete.
Visually, it looks like a dark brown whiskey. The smell. He describes it as forest soil, dead leaves, and faint sweet nuts. He calls it calm and complex.
And the taste.
Mellow mouthfeel, medicinal bitterness, savory, and a sweetness like brown sugar.
And that leads to the climax of the entire piece.
The author realizes this is delicious, and then he describes a sound, not a real sound, but a mental one, the sound of common sense dissolving into the liquid.
That is the moment of no return. When you can look at a glass of excrement and honestly, objectively evaluate it as delicious, you have successfully detached your sensory experience from your cultural programming.
It's a complete collapse of his worldview.
Or maybe an expansion of it. The learner talks about wanting to see the world clearly. Well, this is it. Seeing the world without the filter of good or bad, clean or dirty. Just seeing it as it is.
So let's unpack the why. Why go through all this? The author calls it a barbaric ritual.
It is a ritual. We talked at the beginning about the flavorless gum of modern life. He realizes disgust is a phantom. It's a ghost created by our culture, our upbringing, our visual biases. It isn't biologically real in the way we think it is.
So by eating these things, you destroy the phantom.
Yes. You break the vessel of your old values. And what happens when you step out of the restaurant? This is my favorite part of the source.
The aftermath. The high-resolution world. The author walks out of the restaurant and the scenery looks different. The world is sharper.
That's the contract effect. When you've pushed your senses to the absolute limit of what is unacceptable, the acceptable becomes transcendent.
He mentions stopping at a convenience store and buying a simple fried chicken stick. Just a greasy heat lamb chicken stick.
Right.
But he says it tasted like a Michelin star meal.
Because his senses had been forcibly awakened. He was no longer chewing the flavorless gum of routine. His taste buds were vibrating, so even the most mundane food felt like a symphony.
It's shock therapy to appreciate the ordinary. That's the takeaway. You don't eat the cockroach because you love cockroaches. You eat the cockroach so that fried chicken tastes good again.
Exactly. It's about resetting your baseline. If you stay in the safe zone, the 72-degree room, the bland food, the predictable commute, your sensitivity dulls. You need a spike, a shock, to remind your nervous system that it's alive.
This brings us to the big application for you, the listener, because, frankly, I don't think I can recommend everyone go out and drink squirrel poop sake.
Please don't feel obligated to do that, no.
Right. But the author asks a metaphorical question that I think defines this deep dive. What is your cockroach sake?
This is the critical application. The cockroach is just a symbol for the impossible thing, the thing lying just outside your comfort zone that you've decided is gross or scary or, not for me.
He gives some great examples. It doesn't have to be food. It could be a solo trip to a place where you don't speak the language.
It could be playing an instrument you've never touched because you think you're not musical.
Or making that bold proposal to a boss. Or having that difficult, honest conversation you've been avoiding because it feels icky.
That ick factor, that resistance you feel in your chest, that is your cockroach. And the lesson from this place is that on the other side of that resistance isn't trauma. It's usually a feeling of omnipotence. It's high-resolution living.
Boredom is described in this piece as a slow suffocation caused by staying in your comfort zone. It's a lack of oxygen.
And the medicine to cure a dull life is waiting just past the line of what you think is impossible. You have to cross that line.
So here's our challenge to you. You don't have to go to Takadanobaba. You don't have to drink the Flying Swirl whiskey. But identify one thing this week that scares you, just a little bit. One thing that makes your brain say, why would I do that?
And then, instead of listening to the why, listen to the curiosity that asks, what does it taste like?
Take one sip of your own impossible cup. You might find that common sense dissolves, and suddenly the rest of your week looks a whole lot brighter.
And who knows, it might even be delicious.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. Go find your cockroach. We'll see you next time.